Hello and welcome to Indie Tuesdays on Indie Comic Ninja, your source for independent comic book reviews. I am your host, Ben Dupé.
Dexter Jacobs.
Romando Burnside.
Ariel Dupé.
And we are your independent comic book ninjas. How's everyone doing this week?
Feel great.
Good,
Yeah.
good. It was a fast week, as always.
Get some coffee in you? Just,
A little too much.
Yeah,
coffee,
a
maybe.
little too much. Yeah, I had a Red Bull. Yeah, I was up late last night, and then I had to work at the comic shop this morning, and then come home and deal with writing stuff for this show. So, yeah, nice to have a second to breathe and just chill for a little bit. So.
Yeah.
Not enough time in the day, man.
Anyone reading anything fun this week other than the required reading for this show?
I don't
No.
think so.
I've been
Nothing
reading
that comes to
X-Men.
mind.
Yeah, I've been reading. So my wife and I, what did we watch first? We watched what X-Men movie
The
spurred?
second one.
No, we
X2?
watched something before that spurred it.
You told me you were watching
Apocalypse.
Wolverine.
Yeah, we
Oh.
watched X-Men Apocalypse, and then it was
Okay.
like, I can get into this. This is cool because I feel like that movie is like it's better than it gets cred for.
That one's a bit of a
sometimes.
reboot, isn't it? I'd never seen it. but-
It builds on the previous one.
It's not a reboot. No, it's not a reboot. It's,
well, but it's got it starts with the X-Men being young and stuff, right?
Yeah, they're still younger.
yeah. It's in the 80s, so it's kind of a
Yeah.
continuation.
But
of,
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
of the it's a continuation. They're kind of rebooting it, and actually then so we were watching that, and then we read on the interweb that they're actually having 3 X-Men movies come out next year. They're doing a new Mutants movie, then Deadpool 2, and then Dark Phoenix. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is interesting to me that they're doing Dark Phoenix again
I'm excited.
because that's basically what X2
X3.
was. That's X3 is.
But we're talking as if the X-Men timelines make fucking sense anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, no, they
It's
don't.
the dumbest franchise of them all, and I'm sorry for anybody who nerds out on them. I love them too, but the continuity is so effed up. They need to
messed
just start it over and just wash it all away and start again.
Like,
Yeah.
we were
Well, and that's
watching
what they kinda
X2,
did.
And it's like, does any of this matter? Because they erased it pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just keep messing with the timeline. There's no continuity. I mean, now with the MCU and everything going on with Marvel doing their thing, it's like 20th Century is trying to get their shit together with that, but they've done a piss poor job at this point. So hopefully they get it together.
Yeah.
I kind of feel differently about it because I feel that like the timeline's all messed up, but I really like the way that they rebooted things in a way that still kept all their old continuity and actors the same. So it's like even though like Days of Future Past wiped out the continuity of the previous films, all of those actors and actresses still hold their place. So there's never going to be a different Storm. There will be a younger Storm, but we all know she grows up to be Halle Berry's Storm. So it's
Yeah.
like all of that continuity
Oh.
sort of stays in line with
I
each
see what you're
other.
saying.
So it's still one expanded universe. And I mean, I don't know. I kind of like it. That said, there are some really, really shitty X-Men. I mean, X3 is god awful. There's there's some parts to that movie that are cringe.
Isn't that X3 X-Men United or something like that? Or is
That's
that
Last
2? Last Stand.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's the one where Professor X dies and I mean like
Spoiler!
No, he doesn't really die because
Like
it
10
suggests
years.
that his brain goes into that coma body.
That way.
So, like,
No.
in X3, he goes and visits Moira. I think it was Moira McTaggart, probably.
No, Jean Grey kills
Jean
him.
Grey holds him in the air and turns him to fucking dust.
No. Earlier in the movie,
Just watch that.
I know. Okay, earlier in the movie, though, they go and visit that lady scientist, and she's talking. Or no, they see it on the news or something. But there's a lady scientist who has like a comatose body with like no brain function, but the body's alive. So if you watch past the credits, I believe it suggests that he wakes up in that body.
Gotcha.
I remember them talking about that.
Because it does make a suggestion in the movie too, like that his presence is somewhere.
Yeah.
around
Well,
still.
because he's.
Yeah.
No, you guys are remembering.
I am 100% not remembering
in
this
the
wrong.
in the post credits scene of this. In the post credits scene of X3, it shows Wolverine walking through airport security, and everything freezes around him. And this is after Professor X has died.
Yeah, they're
and
hinting at
Magneto and Professor X approach him and ask for his help. And it's like, what the hell?
They were
You
hinting
just
at
died.
the,
and that's when Days of Future Past
Yeah,
came next.
okay.
That's how that went down.
I need to watch the movie again.
Yeah, I
because
haven't seen them in years.
I'm pretty positive.
You're not missing much.
I have
though.
no intention of watching them again unless they're on TV or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
when they're on
kind
the
of
WB.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing.
And you're bored.
But yeah, that got me into like we went to the comic shop and looked for X-Men comics, and I got True Believers is like this. Marvel puts out like they'll just randomly put out like 4 number ones from back in the day. These are like Jim Lee penciled X-Men comics from back in the day.
Classics.
And they're good, man. They're fun. Like they're totally weird. I mean, they're just like the movies. They're kind of campy and hard to understand, but that's the X-Men. To me, that's what the X-Men is. So, and then you've got like, I don't know. They've got something that DC doesn't have in terms of like the whole civil rights thing, where like Magneto is Malcolm X and Professor X is
like MLK.
MLK. Yeah, they're kind of like both fighting for the cause. One of them's the bad guy, one of them's the good guy, and like I don't know, or not the bad guy,
but more like the any means necessary. We got to take care of our own kind of thing.
Yeah. Totally.
Real hard stance, just like there's no middle ground with him.
Yeah. Which I mean, like I side with him on certain issues, but on other issues, it's like, wow, dude, you're pretty crazy. Yeah. So I'd like that, and I think like Marvel Comics could maybe takes a bit of that and put it in comics today, and maybe apply it towards like some of the issues going on in today's world. I think that could be cool. So
I like that stuff.
Yeah. I just found the post-credit scene on YouTube that I was referring to, so I can show you after we're done podcasting. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Which one is this?
The one where Xavier wakes up in the other dude's body.
Okay.
It's only 22 seconds long.
And that's from X3?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not see that.
Or the ending that is played after the credits in X-Men The Last Stand. The professor transferred his consciousness into another man.
Interesting.
I don't even...
So how did that
we're about
it might have been like post credits, because sometimes they have
two post credits.
Do they ever like call back to that in like the next movie or
I
any
never
other movies?
watched past X3.
See, that's the shit I'm talking about though. Like,
focus on the young ones.
Well, I watched Days of
That's
Future
right, okay.
Past, but
that's stuff I'm talking
it.
about though with X-Men. It's like they do shit like that. They don't come back to it. It's like just start it over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you ever watch Days of Future?
I did watch that, but I didn't bother watching Apocalypse, and I don't know if I'll ever bother watching any more X-Men movies. They just disappointed me too much.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep hiring the same director and writer, and I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, Bryan Singer, and I've heard some pretty sleazy stuff about Bryan Singer, and
Well,
like
then there's that.
I can't.
He'll have like
Bryan
young.
Singer, man.
He'll have kind of like young girls brought to parties. For
I heard
him
it
and
wasn't girls, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean sleazy sexual things that go on with that dude. So yeah, hard to back
Things that make you go.
That brings us maybe into news. Do you have any news?
yeah. Why don't we let's talk about some news.
Let's talk about news.
All right, so news this week. The best-selling fantasy series Rose by Meredith Finch, which we weren't really a huge fan of, but she wrote for Wonder Woman and The Little Mermaid, and that's all she's written for. And IG Guara, which he was on Batman Arkham Knight, Blue Beetle, and the Ravengers, is being rushed back to print in order to keep up with the overwhelming customer demand.
Huh.
Go figure.
Well, I do remember... So this is from... We recorded an episode last week, and it didn't make it to the podcast, but
yeah, my bad.
I remember I didn't mean to bring that up like that. I just because we're going to be referencing having talked about it, but we didn't seem to care for that first issue. But I do remember, at least I am looking forward to reading more. Like I can tell it's going somewhere basically, and so I'm excited to see where it's going. I don't know if I would, find the need to go rush it back, the first issue back to print necessarily, but I'm glad that that's happening. I suppose
this news is being taken from Image Comics website too. So I mean, rushed back to print. I don't know. They also said that about
press releases are good.
They also said that about God Country #4 and Plastic #1. So
really,
yeah,
interesting. Yep, because I don't know about that.
What
about Plastic #1 needing to be rushed back?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
Image Comics is pleased to announce that writer Matt Nixon from Wolverine and Toby Cypress from Rod Racer and Blue Estate will team up for an all-new time-hopping paranormal series called Retcon. Good name. In Retcon, a group of paranormal adventurers faced with an impossible threat to keep shutting down alternative timelines in order to prevent the ultimate destruction of the solar system. This is only to find themselves reinvented in a similar, albeit retcon situation, back in issues #1 on Parallel Earth facing the same enemy. Retcon #1 will hit stores in September of 2017.
I think Marvel needs to rename themselves Retcon.
Right, yeah, Marvel and DC both. Yeah, that's just comics. I do think it's cool that a comic is being put out that's called Retcon and kind of poking fun at the fact.
I assume it's a tongue-in-cheek whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of cool.
It sounds very much like the Justice League story arc that's going on right now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it is sort of retcon. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, lots of retcons in that. So, yeah, that's all I have for news. I checked Aftershocks page, and they didn't really have much as far as news goes. Dark Horse Comics doesn't even have a section for news on their page.
You
Which
know? They have a blog,
come
though,
on,
I think.
come on, Dark Horse.
They
get
send
it.
me news.
They have a
all the
newsletter.
time. Yeah. No, I get like press releases a lot. So, and it's mostly just like we're releasing a new comic next month.
Yeah.
So,
Any other news?
Yeah.
well, I know last week. I think it was last week we brought up, and it kind of developed a little bit more. But it might have been the week before. But the Marvel CEO guy was kind of blaming sales on, and he was kind of talking about low minority. Like people not buying minority
We
comics.
minority
have
support.
too much diversity in our comics.
Well,
It's like-
and just that it wasn't selling. And I read another article this week to kind of defend him a little bit, and that his comments were taken a little out of context because it was, I guess, at some summit with store owners. And I guess right before his comments, they were complaining about how like there's all this new diversity, but nobody wants to buy those comics. And so he was kind of like the reason why he was even bringing it up was because like the people in the audience had already been bringing it up and talking about it, and so I think he was just defending it, which I just thought it was interesting. Just that was kind of taken out of context, but it's just interesting that he was only citing sales and the people who are buying them. Apparently, the problem is people are buying comics based on what they know are going to sell instead of trying the new minority or female lead things. It's I don't know. It's an interesting concept just because people like comic book stores are only going to buy the sure things that are going to sell essentially.
Can I ask? Do you know what? Can we get his quote exactly what he said?
Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm just interested. And we can talk about something else while you're looking
Yeah,
into it.
Oh, so what you're saying is these comics that have minorities in them aren't selling?
Yeah, they're not selling as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which like I mean, I don't really know if there's a reason. Like I personally, I have never really made a decision based on it. Like any comic I decide to buy is just because like that looks cool as shit or that looks
Yeah.
stupid as shit. Or,
I mean, I'd love to hear like the other side of the coin for somebody who does look at stuff like that, maybe. But I don't know anybody who does, like of any background, gender, or whatever, that looks at comic books and goes, "Oh, I'm not buying that because there's an Asian guy as the lead or a black guy or something."
Well,
like that.
and
So,
I don't think it's so much
don't know.
that. I think it's just a
Just
lot
numbers,
of
you know?
like as far as the masses go,
Sure.
people are more likely just to buy what they know is good,
Right,
and so they're like, I read X-Men. I only read X-Men. I'm
Yeah,
going to buy
yeah, yeah.
X-Men, and so then. From what I understood from the article I read, it seemed like a lot of stores are only buying then these comics that they know are going to sell
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
what people
that
are
makes
buying, and
sense.
so they're not as willing to go out on a limb and buy whatever the minority comic is.
That sucks though too, though that kind of has that negative connotation with it that it's not selling, so we're not going to make any more of that stuff or as
Yeah,
much of it
which-
anyway. At least, I mean, I get this.
I don't even know if he was necessarily. I don't
Sorry,
even know
what?
if he was necessarily saying that. Sorry, yeah, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're
That's
good.
okay.
I was just saying it's kind of sad though that it comes down to it's a business. You know what I mean? You got to
Yeah.
sell what
Yeah.
you're selling a product, and if you're not selling the product, then you're probably not going to carry as much of it, or you're going to stop it. So it's just sad that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
You sure they're not just reaching for excuses since Marvel's just not doing well? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe,
and
that could
You
be
never
part
know.
of it.
You never know.
Trying
Yeah.
to find.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean that's like the bottom line, and it is a business. We're having issues on the Nerd Church Radio show because like Justice League sucks. It's the worst, and it has been. It's been so bad since Rebirth started. But sales are just. Everyone's always going to buy that book because it's a Justice League comic. The writer is never going to get taken off it because I mean sales are up. They don't care what I say on a podcast. They care about the
Right.
money. That's cash is king in this industry. So,
So I have his quote. It's what we heard from retailers was that people didn't want any more diversity. They didn't want female characters out there. That's what we heard. Whether we believe that or not, I don't know that that's really true, but that's what we saw in sales. We saw the sales of any character that was diverse, any character that was new, our female characters, anything that was not core Marvel characters, people were turning their nose up against. That was difficult for us because we had a lot of fresh, new, exciting ideas that we were trying to get out, and nothing new really worked. So, like, I mean, obviously they're saying that it looked like they were moving forward with diversity and stuff like that, but
Right.
like he was just kind of citing sales aren't doing it, and I don't know. I just thought it was it was an interesting thing. It was interesting that it just kind of kept being talked about, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy to me because if you think of the TV shows, a blind
Yeah.
man, a woman, and a black man, 3 of like the most successful shows out there right now.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's an excuse because I don't think people care anymore about.
I mean, I think they're maybe looking at things a wrong way. Sort of, it's like, okay, the books that have like females or black men or women in it or gay men or women in it aren't selling well. So let's blame it on the fact that there are diverse people in this book. Maybe take a look at the writers and the artists of those books. Maybe it's just that there's bad writing in those books.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just
Well,
not good books.
That's not necessarily true either because, like, one of the key books being talked about was Miss Marvel by G. Willow Wilson, which is, like, receiving awards and stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, but, no.
You may have read a different one.
Yeah,
but
I must have.
the one. Yeah, you haven't read Miss Marvel.
Ariel's killing me today.
But so then this week, I think it was, or at least more recently, as David Gabriel is the guy who I just quoted, but he said, although Gabriel walked back his original statement a bit the next day, promising our fans and retailers are excited about these new heroes, and let me be clear, our new heroes are not going anywhere. Diversity is and remains a tempting target to blame for Marvel's current sales slumps. It paints a simple narrative. Marvel tried to reach out to new audiences, but the sales weren't there. It means all Marvel has to do is shift focus back to its core superheroes and core audience, and everything will be fine. And I read that kind of weird, but it's so clearly he says that they're not going anywhere, but it's just kind of interesting that they're kind of. I mean, the blame is kind of getting thrown around in a weird way.
I guess, like, to me, it's just I don't know. I don't get it because their core characters are a very diverse bunch. I mean,
the X-Men in general.
Yeah, they're a group
Right.
like literally founded on the foothills of like the civil rights. I mean, like everything in that book is like screams diversity. I mean, same thing with Captain Marvel. I mean, it's just I don't know that is their core characters to me. So I don't know.
I'm sure if we had access to like numbers and all that different stuff, we could probably make a better case for the situation. But unless we're going to get access to that stuff, we're going to just be talking about it and hypothesizing over it and stuff like that. You know, and this kind of stuff happens in other things too, in other media. I mean, movies, video games, and stuff like that. You get new publishers or new development teams that want to make something different that's a little out of left field. And people don't support it sometimes, and it's like this is really good stuff because people they want what they know. I want to play Halo and Call of Duty every time. And it's like, come on, man, check out this indie game over here. These guys worked hard on this. It's a small project, but it's great stuff.
Yeah,
and it doesn't get supported sometimes because people want to play with the same old shit.
To me, it's like Horizon Zero Dawn, right?
Yeah, new IP,
like, new idea, sure, but. More importantly, amazing game.
Yeah.
I mean, and like that's the reason that people love it. People also love the fact that there's a female lead in it, and that doesn't happen very much in video games. But that's not why it sells. It sells because it's a good game. I mean, that just plain and simple. Very good art, very good
quality's there.
Yeah, it's just a great game. So it's the same with comics. You know, like I don't know, diversity in characters. It doesn't really matter. You can tell a captivating story with any type of character. There's a good story to be found anywhere. You just have to find the storytellers. So I mean, that's been the problem I've seen with Marvel comics anyway. Is just their storytelling is off. Every time I open a Marvel comic book, I'm confused and angry and pissed off that I spent the money on it.
Why?
I know, like, and yeah, we don't get review copies from them, so I literally pay money to just be confused and pissed off that I'm reading this. So it's just like, man,
I love the idea of you just paying like, can I get one pissed off and angry, please?
Can you just kick me in the? I'll give you $5 if you kick me in the nuts. That would be
somebody
great.
will take you up on that deal.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So all right. Anyway, we will move.
Dex is like, no.
We will move things.
I'd rather read a horrible comic.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, same here. Same
No
here.
pleasure in kicking somebody in the balls. Wow.
No, I think he means than being kicked in the balls.
No,
okay,
yeah.
okay, I got you.
All right, we'll move things on to the book reviews.
Yeah.
All right, so first off, we have God Country number 4 in the books. So I'll kick things off here with just a kind of recap of it. But Emmett's granddaughter has been kidnapped and taken to hell, all because he wouldn't give up the mighty God's sword. So he must leave his son and daughter-in-law to fend off the armies of a demon and venture to the depths of hell to win his granddaughter back. Will Emmett be successful and save his granddaughter, or will he be swallowed up by the fiery abyss? Find out in God Country number 4. So what did you guys think of this book?
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ariel hasn't read it yet either. So that was, or she,
No.
well, she hasn't read any of the previous.
Like
She
what?
just said she loved it.
No, I'm sorry. She hasn't read any of the previous.
Okay,
issues,
okay.
so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at first I was like, man, that's a big sword. He's probably compensating for something.
Yeah,
It was a gift from the sword.
yeah, literally, yeah. The sword gave itself to him.
Yeah, I thought, especially these first couple pages, with how overcompensating the sword looks, with just how hell is so like dark and dead looking. It's really kind of cool, that juxtaposition with the sword and like the colors that are kind of just emanating off of it. It's a really cool like little scene.
Very a lot of contrast,
Yeah.
showing that he shouldn't be there. Because
Yeah.
he's so bright, colorful stuff.
Oh, I just realized that in the second or third page, second page, there's like there's like these two spiders on like a dead rabbit. Totally thought that was a giant dead rabbit, but I think it's just like the camera angle and the rabbit's in the foreground and he's walking in the background.
It does look
just
kind of weird
realized-
though.
It
Yeah.
does look giant.
I just realized it's not a 3-story tall rabbit. It's just closer to the camera.
I kind of
view.
wish it was a 3-story tall rabbit.
I do too.
Yeah.
That would make it so much cooler.
Did you guys know that the guy who wrote Redneck also wrote this?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird.
That makes sense.
Both
Because
very southern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just kind of have the same vibe to him.
was it the
Yeah.
same artist? Does he do the art on both as well? Because it's similar in my opinion.
Yes.
So
look
artist on
very-
this is Jeff Shaw, and artist on Redneck is it's not him. Lissandro Esterin and D. Cunefe on Redneck. So,
Okay, it's very similar though.
yeah.
Yeah, so that being said, too, this book is Donny Cates on words, so I guess he wrote it. Jeff Shaw on art, Jason Wordy on color, John J. Hill letter and design.
Yep. Yep, and Gerardo is a pheno for the variant cover. But the artwork in this is really, really, really good. I don't know. I really like it. I know, like,
Yeah.
Andrew didn't really care for it when he was on the podcast.
It's a little grittier, yeah.
I don't know. To me, it totally suits the narrative. I mean,
Well, especially now that he's going to hell.
yeah, man. And, like, this demon that he comes across, just a really cool demon. I love the part where, like, the sword gets away from Emmett, and you kind of think, like, oh, shit, he just lost the sword, and, like, the sword makes a decision, right there.
Yeah.
By the way, we'll semi-spoil this, so, yeah.
That was such a sweet moment because, like, the whole time he's like, I'm not giving up the sword. I'm not giving up the sword. And he sees his wife and he instantly drops it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh.
And the sword is telling him, he's like, don't look, close your eyes, look away before she even shows up, because he
Yeah.
knows it's coming.
Yeah.
And he's like, look away, and then he keeps looking. And the whole time I was reading, I was like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
stop looking, But if you're in that position, and
Yeah, I mean, it's...
you'd want to see your wife again too.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how clean and white that panel got right when he met his wife again for the first
Yeah.
time. It was like this whole book is just dark and gritty, and then there's just this one bright white panel with a clear-cut line in it. I mean, like, that really well done. So
Yeah, I think I find the interactions between him and the sword, too, to be really interesting, because then, like, after it's all resolved and he ends up, I guess, winning and picking up his granddaughter and kind of heading back, and the sword just says to him, where is it?
When he makes the comment about and tells him to shut up, basically.
Yeah, well, he's just like, I don't think I could. He's like, Emmett, I'm sorry, I can't imagine what you must be. Shut up.
yeah,
It's just like the fact that the sword, and then like earlier when he was talking about his Alzheimer's to the other god, like they're just kind of like, it's just interesting that they're just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That sounds horrible.
yeah.
And even the sword kind of basically doing that same thing. It's
Yeah, I
interesting.
agree. It is. Yeah, it very much is. This book always seems to end on like a note of like this guy is just about to go do some badass stuff too. I mean, like at the end of the last issue, he was about to go into hell, and at the end of this issue, he's like shit's about to go down. At the end of the first issue, it was like, come and get, or tell, I have a few words for him, come and get it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, like this guy's just a total badass. So I love that. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and I like that he's still just like this fat old man.
And
that's pot belly.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I love it when you find like badass people in the most unlikely of places in comic books. That's just my favorite thing in the world. Just when you come across people that are just totally badass and just you would never expect them to be. Same with Carol in The Walking Dead. I love her, how she's, she ends up just being like fucking Rambo in this story. I mean, seriously, Rambo level.
Well, she takes a great character arc where she's really like helpless and weak, and her husband was beating on her and stuff, and then she just turns into like this BA, like, I don't give a fuck. You're going down. I'll protect mine. You know what I mean? Like gritty. I love her arc.
I mean, she takes down Terminus. Like that literally in the show reminded me of Rambo. I was like, Carol is John Rambo right now.
Yeah.
That's her spirit.
She's the cookie
animal.
monster, actually.
I'm the cookie monster, man.
Yeah, just whispering in little kids' faces.
Dude, my wife Ariel made cookies the other day, and I get off work at midnight, and like, she made like probably like 20 or something. 24. How many were there when you woke up?
3, I think.
Yeah.
You ate
Yeah,
21 cookies.
No, I had 2 of them.
Okay.
I didn't eat 20. I think I ate like 10 or 15.
Was there a trail of crumbs to like
Still
a
a lot of
closet where
cookies.
he's sitting? Was the
Yeah,
And just crying,
I
just
had-
sobbing in the closet.
I hadn't eaten any. Like, I forgot lunch at work, and I got so busy at work I didn't even take a lunch. I just
whatever it takes for you to
so-
justify eating all those damn cookies.
I know, man. Yeah, I am. That's my favorite food is either pizza or cookies, whatever.
Have you ever had a cookie, like a giant cookie that looks like a pizza?
There you go.
That's
No,
good stuff.
That sounds
Combine
good,
your
though.
love.
That sounds awesome. I wonder if that's a thing. Like at
You can buy them at the mall.
cookie stand in the mall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking about mall rats.
My father-in-law for his birthday, he always gets a giant cookie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cookie cake,
Instead of a
or
cake.
whatever it is. Yeah.
I can dig that.
Yeah,
Gallon of milk to go with it.
Oh,
I'm good.
obviously, yeah.
All right, so let's talk star ratings on this. What do we think?
I give it a 9.
Okay.
I'd probably say 8.5 or a 9 right in there. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna go with 8. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was too compelling compared to what other God Countries books have come out.
I'm at 8 on this, and I mean I'm close to a 9, but I'm at 8. I think 8 or 8.5, somewhere around there. I mean, and
So we're all pretty close.
8 is a great rating to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It
No,
was
it
a
is.
good. It's a really good book. Like
I feel like within the whole story, like if this was part of a volume, I don't think I would have thought anything of this issue. But just by itself, the issue was a little slower than the other ones. Actually, it was a lot faster of a read, and I felt like just not a lot happened. Like I was expecting more of a fight for this.
Yeah.
For this demon
Yeah.
or this particular brother that he was fighting, and it was just way too quick of an interaction. What I was expecting.
One thing I liked was the exposition we got on his son and daughter-in-law.
Yeah, that was
too.
interesting.
That was nice. Like
Yeah.
that moment they had where they're talking and stuff, and I mean that was really nice to sort of feel what they're going through or whatever. I don't know. I felt that.
It is nice that they're not just completely forgotten about, because I think that's one of my gripes with like Seven to Eternity right now, because he left his
family.
whole family back by themselves, and there's just like nothing about them.
Like we don't know what's going on with them.
And they built up like a decent, character like with his daughter and his wife, and it's just like, and now they're just forgotten. Like, which he brings them up, and that's the whole reason why he's doing everything. But like, we don't get to see any of what's going on with them, or any of their worries and stuff like that.
And that was probably one issue I had with Seven to Eternity was like that's why it was so confusing at the beginning, is because there were so many characters in that first issue. It was like you got to know his family, you got to know him, you got to know the Whisperer King or whatever, and then these like knights of whatever come out of nowhere. It's like I really wish if they were just going to forget about the family, just develop those knights at the beginning and give me a little foreshadowing of those guys. And I mean, instead, don't tell me about someone that has no meaning to the larger picture.
Maybe they'll come into it later. Who knows?
Or just show a panel of him with his family and leaving. I
Or
mean,
just off them right away like they do in Reborn when they introduce somebody new.
I know. Yeah.
Just kill the whole family. Make it a
just-
vengeance
Just
story.
show a giant dragon with a lion head just chomping on somebody who just got introduced. That's fine. Just do that.
Do that. That's a good way to play it.
I'm
All
so
right.
cynical today.
No, it's okay, man. It's okay. We all have those days. So, let's talk about Redneck number 1. Get things back into this writer and just talk a little bit more about his stuff. So, vampires are real and they're actually pretty chill. They keep to themselves mostly. They don't even kill humans. They just drink cow's blood. They even mix it with paint thinner sometimes to get a little tipsy. Vampires live out in the country, just trying to keep in peace and not be hunted. Keep the peace and not be hunted with pitchforks and torches. But in Redneck #1, we find out that one of the younger groups of vampires in town decided to go into town and get himself into trouble. So now his family will have to deal with the consequences. Will the family live, or will they be torn apart by angry, mobbing townspeople? Find out in Redneck #1. So, yeah, really interesting story here.
Yeah.
It reminded Ariel of True Blood, and it kind of reminded me of True Blood after she brought that up.
Is that a vampire thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
vampire werewolf.
Sucky.
Vampires and sex.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's vampires.
I'm not hating, man. I'm just stating.
Yeah. I
like
remember.
that.
I remember
like that.
people talking about that.
Yeah, I never got into it, but it looked interesting and
It's a
enough.
good show
Yeah.
until like recently, but
Right.
Yeah.
I liked the first season. I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah.
But that same type thing here without the sex and more into like
It's all a bunch of guys living in a house in the country. So
Yeah.
it kind of reminds. Have you guys watched The Ranch on Netflix?
I have it in my queue after you recommended
Yeah.
it, but I haven't watched it yet.
It's a show about some guys who live out on a ranch. I mean, it's like that 70s show except set in a ranch, and it has Ashton Kutcher and Hyde and stuff. That is literally what this comic is if they were vampires. Like, I don't know, except there's more drama and less comedy, I think. But,
Gotcha.
you know, one of the vampires can read minds. That's pretty cool. I dig that.
yeah, which seems to be like a rare thing because only that little girl and
The old man,
guy living in the
the
attic,
grandpa or whatever.
Yeah.
which is interesting.
And it's character story, you know. I mean, it's that soap opera type of thing we were talking about earlier with Walking Dead, where you know they're I don't know. It's a little bit of character story and a little bit of novelty too.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there's some novelty to the fact that these guys are hundreds of years old and
hundreds or thousands. Well,
old.
no,
as shit.
he was turned during right before the Alamo.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
or like he was at the Alamo.
super old.
Yeah,
And the young ones were only 60 years old.
Yeah.
yeah, but they act like they're 16.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's
which
a.
I don't understand.
In vampire years, they're basically teenagers.
Yeah,
So what's the conversion rate? Like dog years to human years to vampire years?
Like 40
Probably
years, I guess.
40 years.
oh,
Okay.
that would be miserable. You're 60 years old, but you're still acting like you're 16. Like, how long does puberty last for these guys?
I know, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
That shit sounds weak.
Have you guys seen? Have you guys seen What We Do in the Shadows?
No.
Do you know who the Flight of the Conchords is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a movie called What We Do in the Shadows. It's like a reality show about vampires, like that all live together in the same house.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
so funny.
That
There's
sounds
Oh
awesome.
my god! It's,
wasn't it a parody of that that Johnny Depp movie,
Yeah.
which was a remake and it had the word shadow in the title, and I can't think of what it is.
I can't think of it either. But
I don't know. Yeah,
It came
I
out
mean,
like right after that Johnny Depp movie came out. But
yeah. It's just so funny, man. Like watching these vampires. Like I don't know.
What's
like,
it called?
What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay. What's it
It's-
on?
Do you have Amazon Prime?
No.
Oh, do you? I don't know. I bought it on. It's a movie. It's like a 2-hour movie.
Oh, I'll find it then.
Yeah, but I bought it on the Xbox Live Store.
Okay.
It was like,
Okay.
or I rented it for like $2.
I
But
might have to check that out one of these nights.
dude, yeah, it's so funny. Like they come across some werewolves in the movie, and it's like. It's so funny because the werewolves and the vampires always fight with each other, and like the werewolf, like one of them cusses or something, and the other one is like, "What did we say? We're werewolves, not swearwolves." And like, it's so I don't know, man. It's like British humor too, is like that dry sense of humor that I love. I mean, it's great. So I love
Nice.
it. I love Flight of the Conchords too. Speaking of dry, weird humor, Mystery Science Theater 3K.
Yeah, it's back.
I'm digging it, man.
And Patton Oswalt is in it. So
Yeah.
he's
that's-
one of the villains.
yeah, which I didn't even know there was like a
Along with
storyline.
Jonah Ray, Felicia Day.
Felicia Day, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like these evil people trying to... aren't they like trying to find like the one movie to like make everyone go crazy so they can take over the world with it?
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
I mean, it's those little story beats in between the horror
Which are
movies.
completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
nobody
gonna say.
It
nobody
adds a
watches
little
for
bit.
that. They watch for the movies, but yeah, those
All
were
of that
kinda
is
funny.
like cannon fodder for me to just get to like the like the movie watching where they're watching terrible movies
Yeah,
and making fun of them. That's just the best.
It just
like,
excites me because it's like it reminds me of my childhood. You
Yeah.
know, like being
Yeah.
like 10, 11 years old, trying to stay up late and just sitting laying in bed and watching that and just laughing at all the stupid jokes and stuff.
It's way before my time. So
Yeah.
Ben was showing me it, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it was hilarious when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I just lay back. The
yeah.
humor
Yeah.
was awesome. I loved it.
It's one of those great things to turn on like while you're like working on a project or
Yeah.
something. You know, like if you're working on something, just flip that on in the background and like you'll have a laugh every once in a while. So,
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. We will move things on to.
Star rating?
We didn't rate it.
Oh yeah, let's rate this. I gave it. What did I give it? I gave it a 7 out of 10.
7?
Yep. Yeah, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it was
guess. I mean, I had the same feeling. I think it's going somewhere. I'm really interested in it. I guess so. I was going to give it an 8, though. So
good. Cool.
I'd agree with you. I'll probably go 7.5.
Cool.
7.
Yeah.
Solid 7.
Yeah.
I mean, 7's not a bad rate. You know, that's on the upside. I think it's a good book. It didn't wow me or anything. I definitely like Plastic more. Yeah.
It's going somewhere for sure. So I'm eager to see what happens with that. Like Dex was
What,
saying.
Redneck or Plastic?
Redneck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with the little girl and grandpa, I can see that being really
Yeah,
cool.
they're hiding
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, that will be cool. That almost reminded me of Black Hammer a little bit when all the heroes are living off in this one like farm out in the middle of nowhere, you know, like that just I don't know, that dynamic of everyone being in an old house out in the middle of the country kind of vibe. So I like that. But we'll move things on here. Plastic number 1. I found this recap on the Image website. It's the solicit for it, and it was so good that I just kept this. So, retired serial killer, which I didn't know, Edwin Stoffgruppen is in love with Virginia, a girl he, quote, met online. Her affection quiets his vile urges. Together, they tour the back roads of America in their LTD, eating donuts and enjoying their healthy appetites for each other. Life is good until a Louisiana billionaire kidnaps Virginia, forcing Edwin to kill again in exchange for her freedom. Oh, and did we mention Virginia is a sex doll? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I saw that coming.
Yeah.
I thought she
threw
was.
me off so
I
bad
thought
in
she
the
was
beginning.
either a sex doll or a dead girl.
Yeah, I thought I honestly wasn't sure.
I thought she was a dead person at first.
And I thought she was a dead person for a long time.
Until I thought she was a dead person until those guys started making comments and you just saw the corner of her mouth, you know, and then it was like,
Yeah.
okay, she's not a dead person. She's probably just a sex doll.
Even
Like,
then, I could have thought she was. Because, like, when you die, you're frozen in, like, whatever position
Yeah,
you die.
I was a little
Yeah.
confused by that
Yeah.
for a little while until a couple more
And your hands
pages.
are weird. It's like it was sewed on.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the,
Well, I
the
think
whole
that's just
balloon
the seam,
deal.
Yeah.
the balloon. But yeah, I was confused if what weird thing did he do to this
Yeah.
lady? Yeah.
did anyone read the back of the book with the interaction between the artist
Oh.
and the writer?
No.
Oh, it's really. you
I
guys
imagine
should
that's
read it.
pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it's the artist and writer texting back and forth with each other.
And probably more of a highlight than the book itself.
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't care for
you
the
didn't
book,
care for
but-
the book.
Oh,
I
tell us
liked
why.
it a lot. Yeah, why didn't you like it?
Yeah, get into it.
Just the whole concept of the serial killer hanging out with the sex doll, and I don't know. And then,
Makes
like,
you feel bad.
I guess I don't know. But then, like, the part where the dude, so there's like these like drunk college kids hitting on a sex doll. Like, do they realize it's a sex doll or not?
Yeah,
I'm really
they're
confused
they're poking
there.
fun at him, so they're like
Oh.
talking
Yeah.
trash to the
And then
doll,
just like I don't even understand how easily he's able to like just shatter this guy's knee, and
kicks
then
him
he,
to the side or whatever.
there's just like so much, like his knee's like literally exploding, and then
I love it.
kicks this guy in the jaw, and his face is like exploding. This guy's hand, like every time he hits anybody, it's like there's a small explosion.
I mean, it's like
Oh, he
comic.
rips the guy's ear off. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it's comical.
Oh no, I don't know if I call that comical. I don't know. I had a hard time watching, like reading it. I guess for one thing,
To
It's
me, like comical is exaggeration.
it's
Yeah.
well, yeah. It's way too exaggerated for like what the story is. I feel like, and then I don't know. It's interesting to see like where it's going, like what because they're blackmailing him to do some work for him. This
I love
mob
how
boss,
they're
but-
blackmailing him with a sex
a sex
doll
doll.
when he could just. I mean, clearly he's out of his mind, obviously. So that's
Yeah.
part of his whole thing. But it's like I was just sitting there being all logical, like, why don't you just get another doll, man?
Yeah, he's
But
not
I was like-
logical though.
but
But I was like,
Virginia.
yeah, but you got to have Virginia.
you gotta have Virginia.
I was just laughing at that.
It was so cool when you saw him like kind of taking in his surroundings, like
Yeah.
10,000 feet window. It's like you could kind of see into his
You
mind.
can tell he's
I like that.
trained.
Yeah.
Basically, because the guy like the background check that he did, like he said that he did work like black ops essentially for the government. It's interesting to me in that image thing that you read. It said he was a serial killer because, like in the comic, I feel like they established that he was like a spy.
Yeah,
he's a wet
I
work
didn't get
spy.
that from. I didn't get serial killer from this, but I guess he is. So what? I'm 99.9% sure that the writer told the artist draw this guy to look like young Bruce Campbell.
I can see
like,
that.
I mean, like he looks exactly like Ash from
Yeah.
Evil Dead.
There's
like
a
the
couple
original.
scenes where he looks older though.
The ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when he's sitting in the chair and they're like they have Virginia strung up and he's in the chair tied up.
Yeah.
There's a couple of pictures like straight on shots of him where he looks slightly like he's maybe older. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know.
And the one part of the issue that I didn't like was the part where he got knocked out. I thought I was confused by that. Like, I didn't realize what was happening because they drew, like, a point of view shot of him being knocked out. Do you know what I'm talking
The
about?
first time he got knocked out or the second time?
Where
got
he was
knocked
tied
out?
to the chair and then...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that same thing when they left him in the car afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looked like you couldn't tell he was knocking him out. It looked like he was going to shoot him or something.
And
Oh,
what
yeah.
I what
It was
I
weird.
liked about that was in the back of the book, the artist says... Man, here's a challenge for all the art people out there. Draw a point of view shot of someone being knocked out. And, like, yeah, the artist kind of acknowledged that was, like, a really difficult thing to portray visually. Like, it's
Yeah.
just... It would have been better, I think, to show just, like, a long panel of him being hit in the head with a gun, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Drawing a point of view shot of it is
I
hard.
think that would have come off better had they use a bigger...
Like a
bigger
long
panel.
panel,
Yeah,
yeah.
like a little more, show a little bit more of what's going on, because that little square isn't doing it.
Well, yeah, I get the idea of, like, the first panel shows someone cocking their gun back, and the next panel is from his point of view, sort of being knocked out, where you see all those lines going towards the center. That's him
Right.
being, like, knocked out or whatever,
Right.
and, like, things being just... But, like, it just doesn't translate very well. And, like, but I like that the artist and writer kind of acknowledge that, like, hey, this... You know, they'll probably learn from their... And in issue number ones, you sometimes see artists and writers work through things visually like this. Like, they... You know, I'm sure we'll never see that happen again in this series. Like, they'll learn that, like, okay, we'll show it this way from now on or whatever.
Right.
So.
And it's nothing terrible or anything. It's just kind of
Yeah.
a weird
Well,
angle.
no, I agree,
Yeah.
but it was nice to get that behind the scenes look
Yeah.
at like them talking about it or whatever. Man, him licking that doll just looks so creepy. It's
Yeah.
like seriously the creepiest thing in the world. Yeah, I don't know. Ugh.
And why would you lick a sex doll? Like, you know
Well,
what
somebody
people do to
else's.
it.
He
That's
was-
even worse.
Yeah, no, I know, I agree.
You're asking all these great questions that Virginia just isn't going to tell us.
I know. Yeah.
Her mouth is open, but she's not saying
She's
a whole
not
lot.
saying anything. Yeah.
She's
That's
surprised.
a
Yeah.
conundrum.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book though. I thought I love the horror genre. I love it when you mix comedy with the horror genre. Like Evil Dead is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's just so good, man. Like I don't know, it's just fantastic. So I gave this one a 9 out of 10 for me personally. I know Dex is probably going to be on the opposite end of that spectrum. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on it, but I'd give it a 5.
But
A fuck at 5, as Andrew would say.
yeah. I don't want to be too harsh, but 50%.
Yeah. Hey, 50% isn't that bad, honestly.
It's not 0. I'll give you that. So
Jesus.
what do
Couldn't
you think,
imagine a zero.
Mondo?
What does 0 look like?
I don't even
like
nothing.
a-
I don't know. Yeah.
It's like just
I'm trying
a
to think if I've ever read a 0.
front and back, and there's no like middle or something. I don't know.
That's what you give like.
I'm gonna go.
that's what you give like your kid's drawing of a comic. you know?
Yeah, next time. Next time.
That's
I
a
love
terrible
you.
comment.
I love you, but you get a 0.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 8.5.
8.5. Okay.
Yeah.
I love horror much like my husband, so I give it a 9.
Yeah. I figured you were.
I
gonna
wanted to
like
see what
it.
they do with this whole like him going to murder this whole family thing.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
I am definitely interested to see how it goes from here.
I'm hoping for some Boondock Saints action.
Yeah.
I got a feeling there's gonna be a lot of exposition between like some funny stuff that's me talked between the two of them because he's an awkward, weird dude. And I feel like he's gonna like say some weird stuff to him, like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm here to murder you, and he's like eating their food or something when they come downstairs or some weird stuff. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm interested to see like where they're going to with how he keeps talking to his mom, but there's clearly no one else around.
Yeah, that's
Like that just seems like a really weird add-on to like everything else that's going on.
Norman Bates stuff.
Yeah, that's a classic serial killer trope. I like that. So we got 15 minutes left, so let's talk about Walking Dead. That's just the perfect amount of time to cover this. So we read Walking Dead Volume 1. Ariel's like, no, I need an hour to talk about
Walking
Walking
Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get 15 minutes. So,
Okay,
Volume 1 of Walking Dead, written by Robert Kirkman. Well, you want to talk about this, Ariel?
Yeah, so in the first comic, we kind of get an introduction to what's happening. Rick is woken up in a bed, and he finds out the zombie apocalypse happened while he was in a coma. He goes out searching for his family, and our lovely Glenn saves him from his stupidity, where he's reunited with his family. There's some internal drama, which ends up with someone dead. So, I mean, I don't know where you want me to start, because there's a lot that happens.
We don't need a shot-by-shot recap of the entire book, but, you know.
Well, most people know The Walking Dead from the TV show. And I read all the comics. I love seeing the differences between them. And as much as I always think reading is better than watching, the show does really well with exaggerating internal drama and like how bad people can be. Because in the first issue, it's more about the zombies, and there's some internal conflicts within the group, but not nearly as much in the TV show.
It seems like they're setting up a lot of they're getting the setting ready for you so that you can drop these characters into the situation, and you're like, okay, I understand what the hell is happening with all of this, and it gives all that stuff more weight. It feels like
Yeah, and in the show, you get like Lori and Shane were having an affair, while in the comic she kind of made a one-night mistake, and she's kind of hating herself against it. And that's why Shane goes crazy. While on the TV show, she they were together, so he's heartbroken
because she thought he was, she thought Rick was dead, and so they kind of they didn't mean to get together, but it kind of just happened.
Well, it's interesting too because like in the show, did she actually think he was dead in the show? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because whereas in this, like, I felt like she thought he was still being taken care of at the hospital.
She assumed he was dead because once the shit hit the fan, all of Atlanta went to hell, and everybody had to evacuate the city.
Yeah.
And so they're all living on the outskirts because it's too dangerous to go into the city.
Well, but she left him back in their hometown, and because she said that like when we left, we were told that you'd be taken care of in the hospital. But from what you're saying, it sounds like they left you there a couple weeks after we did.
Yeah.
Right.
So she seemed even surprised that he was not being taken care of at the hospital, I think.
Yeah, in the show, Shane actually goes back to the hospital and tries to get him out, but it's just too hard, so he leaves and then tells Lori he's dead. I'm sorry.
He bars the door or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, this is the best I can do for you, and barricades him in.
Yeah.
You also, the whole show, in the show, you get the little girl where he shoots a little girl with a teddy bear in the head, and that's really cool because it kind of sets the tone of what the show is going to be.
Yeah.
But in the comic, it just starts off with those two talking, and they do that in the show, and it's a lot more exaggerated. Like almost the whole first episode is you can see the bromance between Shane and Rick, while in the comic you don't get that as much.
No.
Yeah.
So like their friendship doesn't seem as important, and when Shane goes crazy, you're like, he's kind of an ass the whole time. But then in the show, you're like, man, they were good friends. I can't believe he did this.
That's the best of
Well,
friends.
and then in the show too, they kept Shane around a lot longer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then they added 2 more characters.
a lot more.
Question
Well,
for
yeah.
you guys: did you guys ever run across the little web series they had for The Walking Dead? It was basically they took these little offshoots, I would say 15-minute little snippets, and they would take a specific zombie from the first season, and they would flesh out what happened to them and how they became that way. So remember the zombie where she's crawling in the grass? She has her torso is gone in the first episode in black and white. Well, they show how that woman got that way.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
read
like
that.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
is
a
really
it's
cool.
like a family in a house and everything, and then like the zombie apocalypse happens and stuff, and then right at the end of it, I'll just cut to the chase. They get attacked, and she has a couple of kids, and she's like, run, and she like sacrifices herself for her kids, and she gets ripped in half. And so then they shows her just crawling in the grass, and it shows her like later on like that. It was cool. They did like that with like 3 different zombies.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, check them out if you get a chance.
Yeah, they're really good about making little side comic. Like they have the whole Here's Negan side comic that's been going on for a while now. Where Image was really smart with that. They come out with a monthly preview book, where they give previews to all their comics for the month. And then there's like a little like 2 or 3 page comic in there every month called Here's Negan, where it tells you Negan's backstory from before the apocalypse. And it's on part like 19 right now. It's still going on, but it's a clever way for them to just sell their preview books, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not, man?
So, yeah, so I like it. Fun fact about Walking Dead. Number 1, Robert Kirkman approached Todd McFarlane, who owns Image Comics, with the idea for a zombie comic.
Oh yeah.
Todd McFarlane said, no, there's zombies been done before. We aren't publishing a zombie comic. It's not going to work.
Wow.
And so Robert Kirkman came back to him and was like, no, but like this is a different zombie story. Like it's actually an alien story where there's like aliens and like so you think it's a zombie
What?
apocalypse at first,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
how it's-
actually aliens. And so so Todd McFarlane's like, yeah, okay, let's publish this. So you approved the book. It came out. It's been out for a few months, and Todd McFarlane calls up Robert Kirkman. And he's like, hey, this is a great book, but I don't see any of the Easter eggs for like an alien thing. Robert Kirkman's like, oh, dude, I just lied to you. It's a zombie story. Like,
Yes.
yeah, so like that was just
Yes.
kind of funny
Yeah.
because it started, and it's one of the most successful, probably the most successful Image comic out there,
Yeah.
considering the show.
Well,
Amazing.
and now Robert Kirkman's the editor,
yeah,
which is awesome.
yeah. I mean, Robert Kirkman, and he's written so many good books. I
Yeah.
mean, he
Well played.
He wrote Outcast, which is a good one. He wrote
Invincible.
Invincible. Thank you. Yeah. That's it. I think right now.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
he's
know
wrote
he's
other
dead.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ariel, I know you found some sort of similarities and differences between the first, because like the first volume of Walking Dead covers the first 2 or 3 episodes.
First 6 episodes, pretty
Oh, wow.
much, and that's the first season's just 6 episodes.
Oh,
So-
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The only
It
thing
was
that's
short.
dragged out is Shane's death happens at the end of this volume, but
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't die till season 2, episode 12.
Okay.
But that's
Oh.
the only thing that's dragged out.
Okay.
Like in the comic, they're all like, it's gonna get back to normal. The military's coming.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be back to normal. While in the show, they don't really seem to contemplate like,
Yeah.
let's just stay here until things get normal. They're like, we need to act.
Yeah.
And that's part of the drift between Shane and Rick, because Rick's like, we need to keep going. We're not safe here. And Shane's like, no, the military's going to come. We need to stay. So that's another thing that drifts them
And
apart.
they do reference like the waiting part once in a while in the show, but not as much as like you were saying in the
Yeah.
book.
It really goes away after you remember in the show when the CDC gets blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy whispers in Rick's ear that everyone is basically a zombie, and
Oh yeah.
once you die, anyone who dies is going to turn, like regardless of how they die. So yeah, that's I think when they really lost hope for like the military intervening and stuff. So
In Volume 1, we're introduced to a lot of the main characters that we see even today. Well, most of them are dead. But one thing is Carol is such an iconic character, and she's so different in the comic. She's
Oh yeah.
she's super weak, and she actually, do you guys care if I spoil?
No.
She falls in love with Tyrese.
That's what I saw.
But
Yeah.
Tyrese gets with Michonne, so Carol's so upset she ends up killing herself.
Yeah, I
and that's how
remember
she
that.
goes out in the comic. So I love seeing that, what they did with her.
I remember telling my wife that, and she was like, "What?" Because she loves the show so much, like her favorite show. I was like, "Yeah, Carol gets down with Tyrese." She was like, "That's weird." And I was like,
it is. It's very weird. I think like Robert Kirkman probably wrote a lot of these characters, but then when he sees them in real life with the actors and actresses that play them, it's like, okay, well, like Abraham died in a really meaningless way in the comic, but you know, and in the show it was like, well, he's a big player, so we want to give him a meaningful death. So
I like when books are when they're adapted to like TV shows and they don't follow the exact line.
Yeah.
Because
It's
it
nice.
leaves something for everybody to be excited about.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of weave in and out. Same thing with like, you know, Game of Thrones and stuff like that. They weave in and out of like, okay, this is, you know, canon to like the books, but now I'm going to take you on a different path and bring you back in again, you know.
Yeah.
I love that whole thing.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I wouldn't want it shot for shot.
Yeah, I don't want it to be too predictable, you know, like I mean, that was the big thing with like the newest season was like, will Glenn die or not, and like you just don't know because you don't know how they don't follow the show. I mean, they use it as a loose guideline or whatever.
Right.
Whenever I think of Glenn, I always think of that first time when you meet him and when Rick's inside the tank and he's like, you are a fucking dumbass. And I just, every time I think of him, I just think of that part.
Picture
it cracks
him calling
me up.
Rick dumbass.
Yeah. Like, you are a fucking dumbass.
Yeah, I like it.
I love it. I love it.
So what else, Ariel?
Lots of the characters in the show that we saw in the first season of the show never existed, like Merle and Daryl, which obviously they were created to create some more internal drama, I think. T-Dog never existed in the comics.
Oh, yeah.
Ed, Carol's husband, the abusive husband, he actually died long before they even got to the survival camp. Jackie, do you guys remember Jackie? She's the first one that's kind of was like, I'm giving up. So when the scientists at the CDC decides to blow him up, Jackie's like, I'm staying behind.
Right.
She was the black lady.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I remember
So
her.
she's the first one that kind of was like, I'm just going to give up.
What about was it Andrea's sister?
She
Yeah.
existed.
She okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and she dies the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's like they dragged it out in the
I
TV
can't
show.
remember. Like some of it blurs for me because I read like I didn't get very far into the comics. I got like I can't remember how many. I think maybe 3 or 4 trades in, and that was it.
Really? I didn't even know you had read that far, honestly.
Yeah, I have like the first 3 or 4, and then I
Stopped.
couldn't keep up. It was like, oh shit, I'm so far behind.
There's so many volumes to read. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Andrea was actually, she's the Michonne. And I mean, Michonne exists in the comics, but Andrea's like Rick's lover, the sharpshooter, the one he goes to. So, and they killed her off pretty early in the show, which I thought was kind of crazy because she was such a big part in the comics.
Oh, Andrea, yeah, she was killed then when they were going against the governor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Carl is pretty much the exact same, and this is horrible because he's a child, but I wouldn't mind if Carl died.
Carl pisses.
I don't
me
know
off.
anyone
Yeah,
who
I'm not a
likes
big
Carl.
Coral,
I mean-
get in the house, Coral.
He shoots Shane. Like, he shoots Shane. That should have been the first red flag. Like, this kid's not right.
Yeah. He doesn't listen for shit. Like that season when he like made the zombie was stuck in the mud and he made it come loose and it got Dale and all that stuff. It pissed me off so bad. I was like, oh, if he just listens to Rick, who wouldn't have these problems.
Yeah.
I think one good thing that came out of Carl is the dad jokes.
Yeah.
With that one
The
scene
meme?
from the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
I
just like
love
crying
those
in his
so
face.
So many good memes. It's just so good. Yeah.
This is kind of going further past Volume 1. But Judith dies in the comics pretty immediately.
Really?
When Lori dies, Judith dies with her. So I love the show because there's characters I know died a long time ago. So they're kind of wild cards, like Daryl and Judith. So I'm always wondering what's going to happen to them. Another big difference was in the show, Rick had that walkie-talkie where he's trying to talk to Morgan. That never happens in the comic. He just accidentally runs into Morgan again later on
Oh, okay.
when the little boy was already dead, which was really sad.
Cool.
Do you guys have more questions? Because I feel like
No, actually, we're just about at time here. So, do you have more?
I have a couple more. Let's see. Immediately in the show, Rick comes up with the idea for the zombie guts to cover them and walk around.
Yeah.
But as you saw in the comic, it was like much later.
Wasn't that when they were in that community, wasn't it? When they were going through the houses and stuff in the community in the comics?
No, they went on a supply run for guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the show, it was as Rick was being saved by Glenn.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So it's like he uses the same stories, but he uses them at different times and to different
Yeah.
characters.
Well,
so.
and in the show, Glenn finds him in the tank.
Yeah.
But they didn't really run into the tank until later when they were doing that.
Yeah,
to escape
exactly.
from the zombies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse dies both times.
Yeah.
Sounds
What-
about
So
right.
sad.
So, what do we think about the artwork on this first volume? I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's so good. It's like probably one of my favorite pieces of comic book art ever.
I think like so I heard about Walking Dead long before I ever read it, and I saw parts of the show long before I ever read it. And so the first time I ever saw the art for this comic, I was like, "Oh wow, that's really cartoony, like and not gritty at all."
Yeah.
Which I think helps to focus on the story and less on the zombies for sure.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and they actually had an artist change after the first volume.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Robert Kirkman and this guy didn't get along, but I like this guy's art better than the next 20 some odd volumes. So I prefer this art a little more.
Sorry, Ben and I were just talking about like when's this gonna come to the end? Because I got to be.
They're
the
only
biggest-
like halfway through, I think.
In the comics,
Yeah.
as he said that.
Yeah.
I love
He
the
has a-
comic, but I'm getting bored.
He has a set
Yeah.
number. He only wants to do. I think it's like 300. I mean, so he's a little over halfway. But there's like a number that he's shooting for number of issues.
Well, hopefully
Okay.
he does stop
Yeah.
it.
So there's a finite.
Yeah,
ending
yeah. No,
to
he
this.
knows when there's an end. There's definitely going to be an ending, and it's coming.
You can keep it going for forever.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like you hear people say that, but like Supernatural said they weren't going to go past 5 seasons, and they're on like season 12 right now. So, I mean, if the money's still there, I feel like they'll keep writing
Yeah,
them.
but
I hope they
Robert
don't.
Kirkman, like he ended Invincible when it was kind of needing to be ended.
It also wasn't a worldwide phenomenon
No.
of a TV show either. So I mean, like
Yeah.
it's not just him that
Yeah, for
like
sure.
it's not really his choice, I guess, fully. I mean, like then you have like the AMC that's going to have a say in it too, and
Right.
like I mean,
Well, that's
Well,
the
that's for
thing.
the show. The comic is a different.
Yeah,
beast.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, if he has a finite ending for the comic, that's fine because
Yeah.
they're so far ahead of the show. Like, the show could go on for like another 4, 5, 6 seasons, easy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not even touched where the comics have gone. So
the show does go a lot faster, or I don't know. Yeah, I feel like
it feels slower at
Slower?
times.
Yeah, slower, I guess. Because I thought in season 7, I was like, we're gonna get All Out War in season 7, and we didn't. We get like just how it starts, but All Out War is gonna be the next season.
Yeah,
so
they
it's like,
inch it forward.
Maybe.
yeah,
whole
they're
season.
just going really slow. So
And that's
I feel-
fine. And more Walking Dead is always a good thing, in my opinion. As long as
Yeah.
they keep up the quality of
Yeah.
what they're doing and the great characters and stuff, I have no complaints.
I agree. All right, cool. Let's do star ratings on this real quick.
10,
10.
10, 10,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 11, man. You let me down.
15.
What do you think, Mondo?
Man, I got to go with, 9.5 or 10. I'll just say 10. Let's go with Ariel. She's
Okay.
giving me this look. I gotta go with the lady over here.
All right.
I definitely give it a 9. It's not a story that I'm into too much, but I recognize that it's very good. I enjoyed reading it, but
Still.
yeah, I think it's just too long. There's too much there, and
Yeah.
that's partly why I like indie comics a little bit more than like Marvel and stuff. Is because I like the shorter stories, I guess.
Yeah, I give it a 9. I think it's damn near perfect. I mean, I don't give very I very rarely give it a 10. I mean,
Yeah.
'cause
I'm biased,
I feel
though.
like they
So
should.
biased.
Like that's cool, man. If it hits that way for you, I just like. And it hits that way for me too. I'm really, really picky about 10s and
Right.
0s now. Like I just
Have you ever given a 0? What is this 0 talk?
I don't know, or a 2 or whatever. Like I'm really hesitant to give out super,
Right.
super low scores because it's like
And,
there was an amount of effort there with not as good stories.
Right.
So,
And to that effect too is like sometimes when things that I like a lot, I find myself questions like, okay, am I really putting this on a pedestal?
Yeah.
And
I
I
do
got
that a
sometimes I
lot.
question is this good or am I just putting it on a pedestal?
Right, yeah.
So I wrestle with that once in a while when it comes to stuff that I truly enjoy. So
I hear that. All right, well, we are just over on time, so I'm going to close things out here. If you want to find us online, we are Indie Comic Ninja everywhere. Our website is indiecomic.ninja. You can also find us on Patreon if you want to help support us. We are located at patreon.com/indiecomicninja. If you want to find me, I am on Twitter at indiecomicben. Dex, where can we find you?
Twitter, indie comic Dex.
Cool. Mondo?
at Nerdy Ramondo on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
Ariel the Oracle on Twitter.
Awesome. And that's all we got for you guys. Have a good week.
Read Walking Dead.
Yep.
Bye.